Process of being a doula, how did I become a midwife? I guess I could talk about, alright, so I studied television and radio productions in college. So I get this question a lot, like how did you go from being television and radio productions in college to becoming a midwife? And something that I stress to people who ask me about life or whatever it is that they have a question about is that when you embark on your healing process, I believe for myself that embarking on my healing process brought me to becoming more authentically myself and being more in line with what I really loved. A really good friend of mine in college asked me, what did you want to be when you were little, when you grew up? And I gave her an answer immediately. I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be a teacher, and I wanted to be a mother. And she was like, well, what happened between you being a little kid and now? I'm like, besides trauma, because trauma really can knock you out of your orbit, it can make you disassociate from life and causes a whole bunch of stuff to happen to your self-esteem. I didn't want to be a mother because all of the images that I had been told about being a mother felt like very suffocating to me, and I felt like it was a burden, at that age, as a teenager. I didn't want to become a teacher because it seemed like a lot of hard work, and it also seemed like I wasn't going to get paid enough. The reason I didn't become a doctor is because I didn't think I was good enough, straight up. I wasn't good at math in high school. So when I realized that I wasn't good at math and chemistry, I'm like, I can't be a doctor. And I literally didn't communicate this to anyone. It was just a decision I made in my head, and I kept it moving. But then in college, like I said, I was a television and radio productions major, but then I also became a Black Studies major. And my Black Studies major was my healing, to be able to reconnect to myself and my African roots, especially being part of Dominican culture where there is a lot of anti-Blackness, and being a Black, dark Dominican. I felt validated in my Black Studies major. And that was actually the first time that I had been introduced to the idea of midwifery in the class of Black women. So in college, I also took on healing my reproductive health. And in learning more about my reproductive health, I realized that I also had the gift of being able to teach, that I could take in information and spit it back out to people in a way that they understood. So I'm like, oh, I'm a natural born teacher. And then I also realized in college that I have this ability to make people feel calm, that I've been told many times that my presence is very calming. So it was really simple. Like, I realized, okay, I need to do something with reproductive health, and I have to help other people heal too. So I'm also a really calming presence. So where could I possibly put myself in the most stressful situation to provide calm? Earth. So that's really as simple as it happened. After I graduated college, I was studying to be a holistic health coach, and then I came across being a doula. So as luck would have it, or blessing would have it, I found a fellowship through this organization called the Hudson Perinatal Consortium, where in exchange for Doula training, Doulas is Doulas of North America, it's an organization that does doula training, they would provide me with that training as long as I served 3 low-income women through that program. And so that's how I got my first doula training. But that doula training was longer than the standard, like three days that usually you got trained through at that time period in 2010. And so it was all summer, and then that's when I learned about the rates for Black women and all of that. So I did that program, and then I also knew that I wanted to serve women that spoke Spanish. So I found this school called Maternidad La Luz in El Paso, Texas. El Paso is on the border of Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, and El Paso, Texas, like right on the border. border. Like that's where the clinic is. And that one of the requirements to go to that school is that you speak Spanish, because women from Ciudad Juarez cross over the border with their visas to give birth at the clinic. And so I wanted to go there. I wanted to apply. Life got in the way. At first, I actually went to nursing school because I was going to become a nurse midwife. Because in New York State, they only recognize certified midwives or nurse midwives, and you have to have a master's to practice in New York State. And I tried to go and get my nursing degree, and I had a nervous breakdown after 5 weeks. And I went to therapy, and through that process, I realized that I still wanted to go to this school, even though it meant that I would not be able to practice in New York. I would be able to learn how to do birth in Spanish. So in 2013, I literally got all my prereqs that I needed. I learned how to drive in a month, and if you know me, you know I do not like driving. But I learned how to drive. When there's a will, there's a way. When you need to get something done, you want to get it done. So I got my license, and I packed all my stuff, and I got on a plane, and I went to Texas with my application. I handed in my application when I got there, so I wasn't even accepted to the school yet. And I handed in the application, and I prayed, and I got accepted a week later. The program was a year-long intensive. Usually we train to be a midwife 3 or 4 years academically in a midwifery program with the nursing and the masters. But this program was pretty much like midwifery boot camp, where I attended and went to over almost 100 births in a year, which is too much, just to let you know. But for all intents and purposes, I learned I gained a lot of skills. I saw a lot of births. During my time there, I caught 37 babies, and I provided continuity of care to 11 women, and out of those 11 women, I was able to attend 5 of those births. Now, I'm in the process of figuring out how to practice in New Jersey. Sometimes I do wish that I had gotten the nurse midwifery so I could serve women in New York. And I know that I would need a lot of social supports and financial support to be able to take that step. And also as a political point, because the person was political and I'm not political, midwifery is a profession that our people have had before any of these universities and any of these governing boards and regulatory boards ever came up with licensing for us. I was determined, no matter what I decide or how I decide to continue my education, to learn as closely as the way our ancestors practiced. Though yes, in a birth clinic, it was a happy medium, there was still that element of being an apprentice and learning from other midwives. So that's basically, I've been doing this work for almost 7 years. Yeah, the first time that I went to a birth was July 25th, 2010. So it's been 7 years that I've been studying this, practicing it on and off. I've had to get jobs to support myself and go and come back to it. But for 7 years, this has been a part of my life, a big part of my life. If somebody wants to become a midwife in New York State and you want to practice in New York State, you have to either go to nursing school and then go and get your master's, which is probably, well, you have to get your BSN. So maybe 5-6 year process. Or you can already have your bachelor's and then take the prerequisites and then go get your master's. Either way, you have to get your master's in New York State. So it's a very conscious decision that I've made. I still do choose to do doula work in New York City because that's still necessary. Right now, there aren't as many midwives as I wish there were in New York City specifically. And hopefully those numbers change for folks. hopefully I'm able to practice in New Jersey when I finally am able to take that step, because there are a lot of Latino and Black and Latino folks across the pond, if you will. To become a doula, there are a couple of different organizations. Like I mentioned, Doulas of North America, Doula International exists. Here in New York City, there's also Ancient Song Doula Services, which is in Brooklyn. One of my wonderful colleagues, Chanel Portia, she's the ED, and they do full spectrum doula service. Full spectrum doula meaning that you don't just do birth, you will do postpartum, abortion, miscarriage, all the different outcomes of birth. I believe there's another organization called Doulas International Training or something along those lines, but those are the ones that I'm familiar with. But that's pretty much been my process. I'm always studying birth. I love birth, and I don't see myself doing anything else but that. I do still I do still use my skills around giving workshops and facilitation in different areas, because my focus, yes, is birth, but it's also about helping other people and holding space for them to heal from trauma and to work out mental health concerns and questions. I think mental health is also very much neglected and a huge part of people's health in general. So that was my journey to birth work, and I hope and pray and am determined to continue to serve Black and Latino people in their birthing process.